Hey everyone, it's great to be here today. Hopefully I got you in with a cheeky title and now you get to hear me talk about growth for 10 minutes. My name is Noah Polanski. I'm the CEO and co-founder of Taiv. Prior to this, I ran a marketing team. I have a computer science degree specializing in AI, and I founded a charity. I'm also Canadian and a huge hockey fan. So what we do at Taiv is that we built tech that's able to detect and replace TV commercials in live TV. And we partner up with bars and restaurants and other venues, and we install our tech, and then when it cuts to commercial break, instead of seeing the toenail fungus ad on the left, you see the Diet Coke ad on the right. And the venues work with us because it's totally free. We improve their atmosphere, we give them the ability to run their own drink specials and events, and we cut them a check every month for some of the ad revenue. And the advertisers work with us because instead of traditional live sports ads, which aren't targeted at all, we make it one-to-one targeted. So our AI model pulls in all sorts of data about who's playing, who's winning, are there penalties in the game, and it matches it with demographics profiles about the income level, the gender, the age, and a ton of other metrics about the people in the audience, and it makes it one-to-one and dynamic, so they only run their ad when they're reaching the right people. As a company, we've raised $22 million from great investors, including Y Combinator, IDC Ventures, Emerging Capital. We were recently named the 4th fastest growing company in Canada with 7,400% 3-year growth. We scaled our team from 30 to over 70 people this year, and we're live in over 3,000 locations in the US. This is our team. So how did we get here? Well, it all started with a terrible prototype. We installed this thing in bars and restaurants, and we convinced them to believe in what we were doing and believe in the dream that this could work. And it turned their screens green, and it froze their TVs, and they still put up with it anyways. And they let us install this, and we had some true believers, and we used that to raise a bit of capital. And we used that capital to then make our prototype better, which we used to raise more capital. And eventually we built a really great product that people love, and we raised a decent amount of money. And that means we made it, right? No, it's not about raising the capital. There's this illusion that the more money you raise, the more likely you are to be successful. But in reality, raising capital just gets you to the start line. You see people throw these lavish parties, celebrity endorsements. Is that really the right thing to do? So I believe there's 2 different types of companies. You have your showers, they raise capital for the hype, and you have your growers who raise capital to actually build an effective business and to turn it into measurable ROI growth. And it's actually counterintuitively really hard to do both, because if you're doing growth properly, your head's down focused on the things that matter. And if you're trying to build hype properly, you have to take a step back from the business to meet with people. And so most companies have to do one or the other. So to talk about some examples, we work through lavish parties, celebrity endorsements, and it worked really well. They built us into a $45 billion company. They did go bankrupt, but it was a $45 billion company. And compare that with Matillion, which I'm guessing nobody here has ever heard of, which raised huge funding rounds, built a company into a $1.5 billion valuation, and stayed completely under the radar, focusing on growth. So for the showers, it's all about the sizzle. It's about raising at the highest valuation as early as possible, and getting the highest possible multiple. And it's not about doing that to minimize cap table dilution and hold on to ownership. It's about doing it for hype optimization. And does that work? Usually not. For most companies, it doesn't. So sometimes it does. If you are a celebrity, if you are the president, if you're Elizabeth Holmes, you can pull it off. For most people, if you go down this path, it doesn't work out, and it sizzles out. And I actually think this is one of the most common reasons why startups fail. They raise too much money too early. Investors believe that they can turn that investment dollar into predictable revenue. They pressure them to spend that money. They do spend that money. They grow their team. They bloat. They get more removed from their customers. They can't iterate. They can't find product market fit. The pressure gets worse. They start spending capital on events and celebrity endorsements, thinking that's the answer. They blow through their money. They go back to investors. They haven't hit their targets. They can't raise more. They've ramped up burn, and they die. Compare that to the growers. Those are the other class of companies. They treat capital as fuel, so it's very intentional. Everything they spend on is ROI driven. They know exactly what the objective outcome is from the money they're raising before they raise it. And generally that means focusing on 3 things: building product and systems, scaling processes, investing in people. And you focus on these 3 things, and you focus on almost nothing else. Almost everything else you treat as a distraction. So here's how we've done it. This year, we grew from 30 to 70 employees, and every year since we started the company, we've done between 2 and 3x growth. But prior to this year, for 3 years, we only hired 10 people. We grew from 20 to 30 people over a 3-year period, and that wasn't because we couldn't raise money. We had great offers for lots of capital from great investors, And we turned it down because I believe that in the early stages, before you have product market distribution fit, the best thing you can do as a founder is have a small team, surround yourself with customers, and constantly iterate. And we focused on building a really strong core business with strong fundamentals, building profitability, high retention, high margin, all the things that matter. And only then, when we had all that, did we start taking on investment to really scale the company. I believe that confident founders raise less. They obsess over dilution because they believe that the outcome will be worth more. If you're raising a $50 million seed round, it's because you don't think there's a high probability of you making it to the Series A. If you genuinely believe that you're going to make it there, you're going to raise less today to hold on to more of your company. So the 3 stages of smart capital deployment. First, you want to plan 2 years ahead. You want to figure out what you actually need, what you can tie to capital to measurable outcomes. How many engineers can you hire to achieve what roadmap items? How is that going to implement? How is that going to influence your metrics, your retention, your customer acquisition cost, everything that matters to the business? Build a financial model that you use, and then go and raise that money. And don't do it for the headlines, do it for the leverage. Don't raise from the biggest name investors, raise from the people that will actually help you get there. And I believe in raising capital in smaller, milestone-driven funding rounds. So every 1 to 2 years, you go back to the well and you ratchet up your valuation based on what you've accomplished. Finally, there's 2 stages. At first, you got to find that product market fit. You need to spend as little as necessary to get there. And usually, bloating your team actually slows you down. But once you have it, a switch goes off, and now it's about finding terminal velocity. How fast can you hire salespeople? How quickly can you improve your product? How fast can you deploy capital with a positive ROI? And it's really just like flipping a switch, and you just have to live in your spreadsheets to know when to do it. So, how do you know when you're ready to scale? It's all about product market distribution fit. I think everybody talks about product market fit. They don't talk about the distribution channel. And so you need to have a scalable distribution channel that can actually scale up with more capital. So for a business like Taiv, that can be door-to-door sales. That can be cold calling, cold emailing. That works great for an enterprise B2B product. If you're selling $10 a month consumer SaaS, calling through the phone book probably won't get you there. You have to find a scalable channel that works for you, that you can pump more dollars into to actually effectively grow. And only when you have those 3 things does it make sense to scale. And here's that quote I was talking about. It's from a founder of Twitch. First-time founders obsess about product. Second-time founders obsess about distribution. And what you end up getting is this efficiency flywheel. So you get more efficient. That leads to reinvestment. You take that reinvestment to build a better product. That leads to growth. That leads to more efficiency. And there's 3 byproducts of this. What you're really doing is you're seeing revenue growth, you're seeing an improvement in margin, and you're seeing an improvement in customer retention as your product gets better. And if you see what I did there, those are the 3 things that growth stage investors care about: revenue growth, margin, customer retention. And so if you focus on this as a growing company, you'll build a fundamentally sound business. Now, it's not about not raising money, and it's not about not deploying money. It's the opposite. Growing companies often spend the most money. It's about having a measurable, intentional ROI with every dollar you spend and holding your entire team accountable to that. So, let's talk about some growers who quietly won. I think Amazon is a classic example. They were incredibly thrifty early on, to the point where they had early employees go to Home Depot and buy a door, and they turned that door into a desk because it was cheaper than anything they could find. And that was the culture they built, a culture of accountability where every employee knew that every dollar would be tracked, and they had to prove a positive ROI. They had to show why buying a proper desk was better than buying a door. Notion and Canva did something similar, and we're kind of following a similar path with Taiv, where we didn't announce our seed round for 2 years after raising it. It wasn't because we didn't want the publicity. It's not because we didn't want to be in TechCrunch again. It's because, to be honest, that's not what mattered. We wanted to find product market fit. We wanted to build a great company. And I believe that it has to start at the top. As the CEO, as the founder of this company, I fly economy. I don't stay in lavish accommodations. I spend the smallest amount of money I have to accomplish the target of the company. Doesn't mean I'm not afraid to spend millions of dollars when I need to. It means I'm very intentional with it. And it's not because I think that my personal actions are going to influence really anything in our bottom line. It's because if I hold myself to that standard, every person in my team knows they'll be held to the same accountability and they'll be held to that same level of standard, and we will look at what they spend on and we will make sure that they can justify the ROI behind it. So that's my talk. Raise to grow, not to show. Thank you for coming out.